Hey guys, this is Mark Goldberg from Mark Vlogs Watches. Welcome to the program. Welcome to the show. Thank you for being with me. Go ahead and like and subscribe on this video. It does help. Today I want to talk to you about Dove and his quest or his question about selling his Rolex. But it brings up much larger questions as to what should your expectations be if and when you sell a Rolex? What should you profit? I know we're all seeing crazy inflated prices. Does this mean that the watch that's on your wrist, you can just immediately turn it around safely and profitably for tons of extra money, 2 and 3 times retail? We're going to use Dove as sort of an everyman example. But before we get into that nonsense, the meat and potatoes of this video, let's go ahead and get the quick fist watch check out of the way. You sit there, I got this. Guys, I'm a dog trainer. Please support me and this channel by buying a copy of my latest book, The Art of Training Your Dog. Hardcover or electronic, you can get it globally. If you're not a dog lover, buy it for someone who is, and subscribe to this channel so we can do this again soon. Throw a like on this video. Now let's get along with the fist watch check. And today I am wearing a beautiful Breitling A13340. Here's a quick look. Okay, so we've got the following letter from Dove, and it says, Mark, I watch your YouTube videos and I would like to get your advice. I bought a 41mm Wimbledon rose gold two-tone at MSRP from an authorized dealer. By the way, guys, if you like Datejust, that's actually a beautiful watch. Let's take a quick peek at it here. So you can see its MSRP is $13,950. I don't know, in a lot of places they call it 14, and by the time you add in tax, you're probably up to like 14.8, 14.9. I mean, it's practically $15,000 to get out of the AD with that watch, but it is a beautiful thing, especially that rose gold. But things are going up, and so this is giving people ideas that maybe they're wearing cash on their wrist, just like taking a rubber band and strapping wads of, $100 bills down on their wrist. So who isn't thinking about the value of their Rolex and selling it these days? By the way, in the immortal words of Blue Shirt Buddha, never sell Rolex. Okay, Dove goes on to say, I bought it at MSRP from an AD. The watch dealers are offering $2,000 profit over retail, and I think they would sell it at $4,000 over retail. I like the watch and I don't need the money. $2,000 profit feels insufficient. Do you think the watch is hot? And should I hold it for 6 months? Thanks, Dove. It sounds like a fairly reasonable letter on the surface, but when you start to pick it apart, it reveals so many troubling problems. So first of all, the watch dealers are offering $2,000 profit. Watch dealers do not just grab the computer out of your AD and see who has stuff. I mean, you have to reach out to them. So you've been reaching out to watch dealers, even though you say, I like the watch and I don't need the money. Well, if that's the case, then why are you reaching out to, what do you care what it's worth? Isn't it good enough to just know it's worth what you paid for it and maybe more? Isn't that really all you need to know, Dove? I like the watch and I don't need the money, but simultaneously I'm thinking about hawking it, and so I'm reaching out and I don't like the amount that I was offered because I think it's worth more. None of that goes together. All of your statements are clashing one with the other. So do I think that the watch is hot and therefore you should hold it another 6 months? Dove, I'm not 100% sure you deserve that watch. Okay, just realistically speaking. Now forgive me, and sorry, Dove, but I might be setting the guys up to kind of rake you over the coals in the, in the comments. So be nice to Dove. Give him, let me tone myself down. Let's give him some legitimate advice. So first of all, the Wimbledon is collectible. The rose gold two-tone is an interesting watch. I think it's prettier than the, than the yellow gold. I suspect that the straight-up steel is probably mildly more collectible, but I think the rose gold is an amazing option. let me take you at your word. You like to watch, and you don't need the money. Now that I've teased you a little bit about, the way that you came across there. Good. I'm glad that you like the watch because you own it, and I'm glad that you don't need the money because you should keep it. Do I think it's a hot watch? I mean, I think it's a great watch. Rolex doesn't make a bad watch, especially these days. So I think everything in the way of Rolex is collectible. The two-tone a little less so than the steel sports. The Datejusts even a little bit less so than the steel sports. But nonetheless, Rolex doesn't make a bad watch. And they don't make anything that is not in a certain amount of demand. So I think that you can be secure in the knowledge that you own a Rolex. It's like the single best brand of watch created on earth. I don't care what you people say about Aldemar Piguet, Vacheron et Constantin, Patek Philippe, which has much more horologie. Well, that may be true, but you know, like, just airlift yourself in any continent in the entire world and say Rolex or Aldemar Piguet, and trust me, it's Rolex. That's the one that's going to get you out of jail. Most people never heard of Aldemar Piguet and Ming. And listen, I'm not telling you they don't have horology. I'm just saying, you know, 95% of the population of Earth, of normal people, never heard of it. We are not normal people. So I guess what I want to tell you is, you know, you should just keep it and quit worrying about this. If you don't need the money, then just keep it. It's definitely going to be worth more 5 years from now than it is now. So, you know, what do you care what it's worth right now? Keep it. But we should briefly address the issue that this letter presents, okay, which is this unrealistic notion that a watch dealer is going to pay you these crazy prices that you're seeing on Chrono24, and trust me, they're not, for multiple reasons. First off, when you see prices on even eBay or on Chrono24, what you are seeing is asking price, and sometimes the dealers are shooting way high to just see what happens, or to put watches in a listing that they don't entirely want to or expect to sell anytime really soon. So listing prices are not always the same as selling prices. So for example, my research right now on the Panda Daytona shows that it's frequently listing for 55, 57, but it's much more likely to sell at 49 to 51, for an example. So some of these listing prices are inflated. Also, when you sell to a watch dealer, they have to make a profit. The whole point of being in business is they're going to make a profit. So are they entitled? Yeah, of course they're entitled. Let me tell you the advantage of selling to a watch dealer, which is to say somebody who's going to resell the watch. If you sell to a trusted source, and there are numerous of them, a lot of these guys have YouTube channels, and you know them and you love them. They're names that you would recognize if I stated them here. You know, a couple of my favorites are Kenny Nguyen, Jewelers on Time, Federico and John from Del Rey Watches, and David SW in Orlando. But anyway, if you sell to this type of watch dealer, here's what's going to happen. You are going to be making a safe transaction. You can, and I've done it, you send in your watch with nothing more than their word as to what they're going to pay you, and then they receive the watch, and then the money is wired directly into your bank account. Simple, safe. You have zero risk of fraud when you stick to the best known and the people in this industry that have great integrity. And trust me, you have to be careful because there's at least one individual on YouTube who created a giant pyramid scheme and disappeared with the money. So none of the guys I mentioned. Those are the guys that I would trust, and there are others. So you got to talk to people and deduce who is trustworthy, and sometimes that's not obvious, guys. And we're talking about tens of thousands of dollars here. If you are not realistic about the return on investment that you should be making, you will take risk that is not reasonable. And the people who take unreasonable risks eventually suffer. So you have to allow margin or room. So of course they're entitled to make a few $1,000s on the watch. Some of these watch dealers, these smarmy ones, say, we only make 7%, we only make 10%. I don't believe it. You know, maybe in those countries, but here in this country, it's a lot more reasonable to make 20, 25%. But from that 20 or 25%, they're going to polish these watches up, or at least clean them up. They're going to inspect them. They're going to service them. They're going to pay employees. Some of these people have bricks and mortar. So it's not like pure profit. They've got expenses. And by the way, they take all the risk when they sell that watch, that there's going to be some problem in collecting their money. So if you are not prepared to share the wealth and let somebody else make a few $1,000s on your watch, then you have no business selling it to a watch dealer. What you should then do is sell it to a private party. But here's what happens if you do that. A couple things that aren't good. First, nobody pays a private party watch as much money as they will pay to any of those guys I just mentioned. Why? Because you're not a watch dealer. Okay, Joe Blow, Dove, you're going to sell me that watch? I don't know who you are. I don't know if you have dropped that thing. I don't know if you have inspected it. So I feel like I'm taking a chance on Dove's watch. Whereas if I get a watch from any of the guys that I mentioned earlier, here's what I know. They're going to stand behind that watch. I could discover a problem with that watch 8 months after I purchase it, call them up and get some kind of resolution or satisfaction, because these are the people who have integrity and a reputation to maintain, and that's what they trade on. That is a normal part of business, and I want that when I purchase something really expensive. So Dove, you will sell it cheaper to a private party than the dealer would, therefore taking that margin that you were allowing the dealer and you're shaving some of it off of there, and now you're also taking on a certain amount of risk. Oh, guys, the risk factor is unbelievable. The best fraudulent artists, the best con artists know how to even fake wire transfers. This is not a whole video on how you can get ripped off selling a Rolex, but trust me, that would be a long video. There are an awful lot of people who have just gotten taken to the cleaners. So I think the major advantage of selling to a watch dealer and allowing them their margin is safety and convenience and speed. Those are great. But Dove, if I were you, I would keep that thing. I wouldn't sell it to anybody. Trust me, any Rolex, here's my conclusion. Any Rolex that I have sold in the last few years, it's not that I miss them, but boy, did I give up money because I didn't listen to Blue Shirt Buddha, who said never sell Rolex. I sold a 41 millimeter Polar Explorer for $6,500, and the guy who bought it was sick that he might lose money on it. I'm like, you will not lose money. Oh my God, it's $5,000 or $6,000 more worth, more today than when he bought it. I sold a 16613 full set. That's a pre-ceramic bluesy, two-tone pre-ceramic blue-faced Submariner, and I think I sold it for $7,000, and I think it's almost double that now, like 3-4 years later. Guys, just hang on to your Rolex. But if you intend to sell it, you are either going to sell it to the general public, good luck, or you're going to sell it to a trusted, named dealer. You might get quotes from a couple of those guys, just so, in case one is willing to pay a bit more than the other. But oh my gosh, they are really worth dealing with because it's a relaxing transaction. Speaking of relaxing, go take a nap. This is Goldberg. Peace out.